So, thank you for coming on the podcast today, Erlend. You're from Secure Practice, right?
Mm.
Maybe we should just start off with you telling us your story, so to speak. How did you end up here? How did you end up running a cybersecurity startup in Norway?
Yeah, well, startup, we're 8 years in the making now, so quite well established, I'd say. But yes, it still feels like a startup, which is good. I started off with a master's degree in informatics and specialized in user interaction design and also security, which was a kind of, I don't know, it's still kind of an unusual combination. You say um, users and like usability and security, they don't blend, right? So I was saying kind of, and I've always enjoyed the challenge of working with security and people together in combination, because without without people, well, obviously we could build secure systems, but we have people and need to relate and deal with that. So how do we reduce human risk? That's been kind of my calling in my professional career. So helping people, and well, started off 7 years as a researcher, then a year as a security manager in a scale-up software company. And then I started Secure Practice to build our own software to deal with human risk at scale, basically.
So, how was the journey been? I guess startups, or I know you're well established now, but I mean, starting a technology company in Norway. Did you use external funding, or did you actually grow it yourself? I know that you're located near the university in Trondheim, right? So how did it originate, and how was growing the company? How's the journey been?
Yeah. So it's a good question how you want to fund a company, and I'd say there is obviously no one single answer to that. I can only answer for our part. It's been kind of important to think long term in everything we do. I didn't start a company to sell out and do an exit in a given number of years. On the contrary, I built this because I want to evolve the state of the art in dealing with human risk. It's a professional passion I have. I also enjoy the journey of building a company. I started my first company as an 18-year-old, almost on my birthday. So always kind of had that passion as well. I think like building, like the journey of building, it's interesting, enriching, and I enjoy it personally. So as the company has evolved, we've been through many stages, like coming from a kind of engineering background, technical background at least, bridging with research. I always had this passion of doing the right things. Not just doing things, but doing the right things, and kind of pursuing the challenge of evolving state of the art. And I know we started really early on doing this with a product called MailRisk. I guess everyone listening here has some experience with phishing emails, right? And maybe also even reporting phishing emails. I also started with this at the research company I used to work at, but then I learned like people would often be looking for some feedback. Either like, hey, good work, thank you for your effort, because it always takes an effort, or they're actually looking for an answer. Like, yeah, I don't know, is this safe or is it bad? I don't know. Could you please fill me in? So we built MailRisk as a very technical product, but to help people feel like they are capable of dealing with suspicious emails in a safe way. And this was kind of contrary to the state of the art at the time, and I'd say still is. Like, yeah, many companies now have implemented very, good processes for reporting, but then it's very often lacking on the feedback to the users. And building this dialogue that goes both ways, it's a very important part of my passion, right? Not just be the technical people asking people to do stuff, but actually giving them something in return. And I think this is essential to building relationships we need, so to have a proactive way to deal with human risk. We can't just impose constraints, controls, compliance requirements, and just expect everything to work magically. Because there are people. There's the organization, the people, individuals, processes, everything has to work. Can't just design a fantasy scenario and just expect it to work. So that's where we started. And now recently we've been developing a lot more of this kind of interactive exercise-based learning. So we have always been like providing e-learning and simulated phishing and the kind of always well-known stuff, but kind of still evolving and innovating. That's been a passion. So we've had a great deal of attention to our interactive exercises, where we bring people together in groups to really deal with security questions, dilemmas, challenges together. Regardless of their background, you could be a technical team diving into an incident, or you can be any employee just coming together and discussing, how would security have an impact on our daily work in this situation. So making it available and accessible and giving people something in return, not just sending stuff to people and expecting them to comply.
Yeah, because security culture and really making people invested in security and really making the employees, the other parts of the organization take ownership of security and not just pushing it on people technically. That's a big problem a lot of people struggle with, I think. And also, it's been a kind of contentious topic around the topic of traditional phishing exercises. Some people claim that in the advent of AI and all of this, it's impossible to stop 100% of phishing email. Therefore, maybe we should do something else entirely. What are your thoughts? I know you have maybe an interesting take, or your suite of products has an interesting take on this, but what are your thoughts about how we do traditional phishing exercises as a easy way to build a security culture, so to speak?
Yeah. So first of all, I'd say there is actually a risk in never having a single phishing email going through your spam filter, or believing that, because there will always be this one email that comes through. And if there is really nothing, only this very, very small portion, then people are so just expecting everything to be safe. You security people, you're so good at defending us, so we don't have to be aware ourselves. So people stop thinking. And then I could always send you a lie on an email and say, hey, Vebjørn, you owe me $200 for last night. And I was like, that would be a lie, right? But it would still be a lie. And there would be no spam filter in the world to detect that lie. But you have your human intelligence and knowledge and context, which an AI would never have. So that's basically just a problem description we have to illustrate how we'll never be completely rid of scams, basically. For emails, phishing exercises have been kind of taking a lot of space with good reason, kind of because there is still the challenge of phishing being basically a number one cause for companies to have a breach. And how do you deal with that? Well, you got to do something, right? Phishing exercises train people to be aware. Then there's always the questions of like how you do it and why you do it. And if you say you want to do it to get rid of the problematic users, then you need to know who are clicking those things. And then it kind of becomes really hostile. And I think for a sustainable security programming in any company, you need trust. And you need trust between the colleagues, your employees, your colleagues, as a security team.
Hmm.
And doing actions that will tear down that trust is a problem. And that's why I believe strongly in being service-minded and building trust. Even if you need to do phishing exercises, which obviously, yes, we built a product for that. But I think it's so important not to focus on how many clicked, who clicked. Rather focus on reporting, which is a very generic thing, or focus on this is how you can get help. We used to say, stop, think, click in security awareness campaigns. Then we started to say, stop, check, and something else, which I can't remember because I never got way too far into that. But stop, check, act, or something. Point is check. And how do you check? Like making this very friendly. You can automate it, or you can just be a super friendly service desk, always thanking people for being on the safe side. It's very human and kind of low-cost way of protecting your business and building a strong security culture. So doing this during simulation exercises, well, that can be a challenge to do manually, but of course, just do it for the right reasons, not to pursue people in a negative way.
Yeah, because a big problem also is that people don't want to be targeted, as you say. If you go too specific, if you report on phishing exercises and you go on the individual level, or you make reporting on very small teams, then it can become maybe a privacy issue. It can really offend someone even, and truly erode the trust between the security team. And how do you do, what are your thoughts on phishing reporting and making this abstracted enough, but also actionable enough, I guess, to retarget or adjust the level of training and awareness for the individual and the department?
Yeah, we actually did a very interesting and good project with this together with the Norwegian Data Protection Authority, Datatilsynet. In 2021, we were part of the regulatory sandbox for responsible AI, which has now been mandated throughout Europe by the AI Act. And one of the things we looked upon was how to be able to do targeted training without invading the privacy rights and needs of people in the workplace. And of course, AI in the workplace is a big privacy, it's called
topic.
Yeah, big topic. And there are very invasive tools. And then, of course, it very much depends on how you use those tools. One of the ways we do, like as a service provider, we ensure both technically but also legally that we don't expose identities of users who are compromised in exercises, simply to protect them and make them feel kind of safe, even though they sometimes slip and make a mistake. And also tell them how this works. And then that's a good use case for AI, is to be able to kind of do this profiling in the background by machines, so that you don't have to be the security manager being asked by, I don't know, heads of departments or whatever, who clicked the link in my department, and saying, I don't want to give you that information, because you can simply, I don't have the information. And you can say, rest assured that our program will, based on results, be able to provide people with the help they need to advance their knowledge and interest in learning more. I think this is maybe the very, like, we have e-learning, right? How do we measure e-learning success?
And the number of people who actually completed the learning?
Yes. Maybe also the time they spent in the modules. And we also see this with customers. And then how do you measure the success of a phishing exercise?
Downward trend. Yes.
Yeah, fewer and fewer people click. Yeah. Well, that's a problem for you as a pen tester, because you want to advance the difficulty level.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so then your statistics go the wrong direction. more and more people click, right? And that's a problem. So it's kind of a bad metric, really. How do you really want to report? Well, for instance, a number of people reporting, and making it attractive to report and giving people this good user experience. And that is a very reliable metric. How many people are reporting? Are they aware of the mechanism, the process, and are they willing to spend the time to do this? Good metric for security culture. And then my kind of favorite security metric is like, do you want to learn more about information security? Just asking people that simple question. And you can ask lots of scientifically validated or not validated questions to kind of, I don't know, measure many things. And we also try to do this and work both with NTNU as a research partner and also experimentally to develop how we measure security culture and awareness and behavior over time. Simply asking people, do you want to learn more? And I see now there's a change kind of in society. Like it's pretty mainstream actually to be open to learning more, because people now understand it is actually a part of me being a digital citizen and employee in my company. This is relevant to me. Of course, there are exceptions, but in general, I see a positive trend.
That's great. If we're going to switch over to another topic, people who follow you on different platforms, they are probably aware, and also a lot of other people as well who are just tangentially interested in cybersecurity, they have heard about the nationwide exercise called Hele Norge, or the entirety of Norway does an exercise. It's based on a Norwegian television program. It's like a wordplay, right?
Yeah, it is.
Could you tell a bit about that exercise, how it came to be, the results you feel have come out of it, and also the process of how it also has transferred to Denmark now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thanks. It's been a blast actually. Just first of all, discussing major cyber challenges with our very key partner, Digital Norway, in this project first in Norway. Liv Dingsør, CEO there, she invited me for a talk and told me level 1 and 2 leaders in their owner companies, like many of the biggest and most society critical companies in Norway, they say like, we need help with preparedness and cyber resilience. And I kind of thought, we should do something with exercises. And like, we had the components there, and 3 months we scrapped together some prototype and did a breakfast seminar, and boom, it was a super success with very high engagement. And we developed the concept into a workshop format and did some experience during those next months. And suddenly we had DNB, Telenor, DNB, and partners for launching a nationwide campaign. So NHO, the Norwegian Business Association, so biggest bank and biggest telco as well. So they had venues for us to use, and we just had to travel around and do our circus show. But with the technology support, right, we continued to develop our software. It's now called PrepJam. It won the Outstanding Security Performance Awards this year, together with one of your colleagues, actually for best new security product. It's really engaging, and we have now trained 5,000 people from 3,500 companies across Norway and Denmark during the last 2024.
Wow.
In open events, free events, plus of course our software subscribers, customers, companies. So I think what this responds to is kind of e-learning, how many people completed and in how much time. We hear from many security managers, like there's a certain amount of tiredness from e-learning, and it scales well, but like, how engaging can it possibly be? So I think the response here is like, getting people together in groups, big groups even. You can just split them around tables, 5 to 8 people at a time. And my biggest crowd has been 400 people at once, with the hybrid broadcast as well. And like people are talking so much, discussing, and through the technology, they're kind of engaged to both think and contribute. And some things kind of interactively, magically happen. So the phone starts to ring, and it's like, hey, somebody calling you, and there's a message for you, and everyone gets the same personal message. It's like, oh, didn't expect this. And then people are like getting into the story. I think storytelling, that's important. It's very human to like stories. We can talk a lot about technical stuff, but if you can wrap it up in a story, then people can relate and remember. And I think this is where it really hits a sweet spot. So we actually got funded by the EU to go and do this, not just in Norway and Denmark, but 10 European countries until 2027, 26, sorry. So yeah, more countries to come, but let's try to make it a sustainable, repeatable process, and kind of do it again also in Norway. Continue.
Well, guess you'll have to leverage partners and stuff like that to scale properly, or do you imagine yourself traveling around?
I did a lot of traveling in Norway, and I did 0 traveling in Denmark. I went to the kickoff and a train the trainer session, but then we built this train trainer program, which is really scalable. So this is where we're doing the scale now to equip, of course, security professionals, but also people who are just good at or experienced at just facilitating a workshop, being good at eliciting input from people. Of course, the technology does a lot of this, but having those people just on stage, 1 or 2 people at a time, 2 people is, you can almost make a screenplay out of it. You take on these roles, make it a little bit more, even more like engaging and involving. So I enjoy this personally myself. It's fun. I have good fun doing these sessions. So
yeah, because if there's one like part of a security program or part of cybersecurity that's really needed a revamp, it would be e-learning modules. Because people now they do the same for cyber as compliance, as company policy, and
sustainability, HR, and onboarding, everything. And it scales well for its purposes, use cases. But it's always the best.
From an adoption perspective. We started to talk a bit about EU, and you've also been in the different processes and in talks, and you received grants and stuff like that from the EU. Could you talk a bit about what's happening right now within cyber and also startup innovation in EU from your perspective?
Yeah, the EU is evolving, changing, and it's changing pretty fast. I was in Brussels in December, and I attended a conference and meeting policymakers and like everything between us as an innovation company. You see there's a sense of urgency on resilience. And resilience on many levels, but in a geopolitical landscape we have, Europe needs to be resilient because the world around us is changing. We cannot just simply rely on the US, as we have done for the deep peace we've had in Europe. And it's kind of not completely reflected in Norway, I think. We're not too well connected with the EU and what goes on there, but there are like initiatives and big stakes for politicians to secure the future and wealth of Europe and also resilience and safety in today's world. So both in terms of, you call them like sovereignty, being able to provide for ourselves, building the industries we we are really dependent on, not just building, say, green energy solutions. Like there's a program came last year, I think it was 300 billion euros for green technology in Europe, and it's not just for implementing solar panels and windmills. It's for building the supply chain of being able to build all that technology and develop it. So there is this really not just sense of urgency, but urgency to act, and super massive resources to put behind it. And so what we see in cyber as well is, of course, there's a regulation approach. Tomorrow, DORA is coming into force. The Cyber Resilience Act, so many regulations, and they have big implications for many companies. But then, like, overarching, and as you say, like, for innovation and being able to sustain our wealth and well-being in Europe and safety, it's paramount. The new European Commission has set down like 100-day action to make a plan for cyber resilience now in the very first 100 days of the new Commission. So before summer, we'll have that report and plan available. So, like, they're really putting intent and resources behind it, and it's massive in scale. Like,
because it's been like a rumor outside of Europe, and I think a lot of founders have felt this also inside of Europe, that the whole climate hasn't been ideal for building technology, and we've just seen the US and China and others just leaping quite a bit in front of us, and also losing great talents to those countries as well, because they just make it more attractive to move, so to speak. Do you see any things that are happening right now to keep our tech talent and to keep our growing companies and becoming, as you say, more sovereign in our own technology as well in Europe?
Yeah, for instance, there's been this 20 years of European research being funded, and which has had its purposes and good outputs, but we've been falling behind still. So what the EU has discovered is, like, we need other ways of actually building the ecosystem, technology providers. Like Secure Practice, we received a grant, 2.5 million euros, just to scale our company. Free money, basically. Of course, we have committed a great deal to a plan we've written ourselves. This is what we're going to do. For instance, going to all these markets with our national exercise campaigns. But your EU says, yes, we need this. Take our money and run. So, like, I haven't seen this before. I used to work 7 years in research, and there was never this industrial, just like, take our money and do great stuff kind of approach. And this is coming more and more, because you need to change something when it hasn't been working as intended before. So seeing opportunities in Europe, like the European market is just as big as the American market. We have a strategic focus on Europe. Of course, there are complexities. Like, it's easier to serve one American market with one language, one regulatory landscape. In Europe, we have had many directives. There will probably be even more regulations, like the GDPR should be the same in every country. Directives, they can be implemented in various ways. NIS2 is one of those directives. It will be implemented in many different ways in various countries. This is complexity that we don't need to be able to scale efficiently. Same for, there's a 28th regime on making a European business regulation coming up now. It's a prime focus of Ursula von der Leyen and top administration in the EU to actually be able to register a European company incorporated, period. Not having to go to every single country to get incorporated. Just one of those things that would drastically change the landscape for startups and scale-ups like us. And I see already going to Denmark, okay, we can deal with one extra company, but then replicating this across many countries, it will be so much overhead that we actually need to we really conscious about how we scale. So this will definitely help.
There's more of a focus putting funding behind industry as well, not just academic research, and also a bridging of the two worlds more and more. I read a great blog post recently as well that there seems to be more, at least in Norway, maybe academia has gone in its own direction, become very specific, but now maybe there's more potential to bridge industry and an academic understanding. So
yeah, and not all grants go together with research at all. Like our project, it's a simple scale-up grant. We're not doing any research, basically. So it's change. It is. Just build and grow and create jobs in Europe, create cybersecurity industry in Europe, protect European citizens, protect European companies, protect Europe, basically. And that's what we need. So take our money and do great stuff. That's summarized what we have.
What a nice vision of the future. I'm starting to become very optimistic now. Very great to hear all these developments. So how do you see this going now? Things are escalating now. I mean, things are accelerating. Technology is moving faster. Regulation is moving faster. AI is just growing at an exponential rate. How do you see the European cybersecurity and the sector growing the next maybe 2 or 5 years going forward now? No, there's plans and stuff like that, but how do you see the developments going?
Yeah, obviously there is no decline in industry. We need more people with skills, both basic skills, but also, of course, advanced skills, the security professionals, the security companies. I think Europe has, we have everything we need to do this and build our own. Kind of not to be like protectionistic, but we need the people, we need the skills, we need to educate the people and build the industry to be resilient. And of course, who knows what the future brings? But one thing is certain: the world is changing, and we kind of need to be able to think about preparedness. This is kind of universal, being able to think business continuity, resilience. This will be not just mandatory, but second nature to all companies, I think. And I think, like with this universal need, and like seeing the world in this perspective changing and kind of in many ways dangerous as it evolves, we need digital skills, cybersecurity skills everywhere. Obviously optimistic for our industry. The background for that is a little bit depressing, but I have great hope. Like we have what we need, although we rely a great deal on American technology, which is not bad on its own, but we just need to be able to build stuff as well. And this takes time, but the European Union and Europe, like, regardless if you're a pro or against Norwegian EU membership, like Europe is important, and we need to be connected to our continent in some way or another for the future. That's for sure.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your insights.
Thank you, very much.
And yep, we'll call it at that. Where can people find you?
Oh, you can hit me on LinkedIn, connect with me, feel free, and yeah.
securepractice.com or NO or EU?
Yeah, sure.
Everything. All the domain.
Yeah.
So,
not .com actually.
.com.
Oh no, somebody bought that.
Okay, now. Well, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And see you later.